Welcome, everyone. Imagine, for a moment, waking up one morning to find that the foundation of the entire global financial system has cracked. The asset that every bank, every government, and every major corporation relies upon as the ultimate safe investment is suddenly slapped with a warning label. Today, we are going deep into a scenario that financial analysts call the doomsday clock of the global economy. A United States debt technical default. What exactly does that mean? How does it happen? And most importantly for us today, what happens to global stock markets and commodities when the dominoes start falling? Let's start with the basics. What is a technical default? Unlike a company going bankrupt because it simply has no money and a broken business model, a U.S. technical default is purely political. The U.S. government collects taxes and issues debt to pay its bills. But there is a legal limit to how much it can borrow, the infamous debt ceiling. If Congress refuses to raise that ceiling, the Treasury eventually runs out of cash to pay its obligations. A technical default occurs when the U.S. misses a payment on its Treasury bonds, not because the American economy is broken, but because the politicians refuse to authorize the payment. It sounds like a simple clerical delay. It is not. To understand why, we have to look at the role of U.S. debt in the world. To understand the market reaction, you first need to understand what a U.S. Treasury bond actually is. In the world of finance, U.S. debt is considered the risk-free asset. Every financial model taught in business schools around the world starts with a risk-free rate. It is the baseline from which all other investments are priced. If you buy a stock, you expect it to return more than the risk-free rate because stocks are riskier. If you buy a corporate bond, it must pay a higher interest rate than a U.S. Treasury bond. Now, ask yourself, what happens when the risk-free asset suddenly has risk? The mathematical models that run global finance break down. It's like discovering that your ruler, which you use to measure everything, changes its length every day. If a technical default occurs, rating agencies like Standard & Poor's, Moody's, and Fitch would immediately downgrade U.S. sovereign debt. The immediate consequence? Yields on U.S. Treasuries would spike because investors will demand higher interest rates to compensate for the new risk of delayed payments. And when the foundational interest rate of the world goes up, the cost of borrowing for everyone, from a student getting a car loan in Texas to a multinational corporation building a factory in Tokyo, goes up instantly. So, how does the stock market react? In short, violently. Let's move from the shallow end to the deep end of how this contagion spreads. The first reaction is psychological. It is a massive risk-off event. When investors get scared, they sell risky assets like stocks and buy safe assets. But wait, if the safe asset, U.S. debt, is the thing causing the problem, where do they go? This confusion leads to indiscriminate selling. Cash becomes king. Let's look at a real-world example. The summer of 2011. In August 2011, the U.S. did not default. They reached a deal at the absolute 11th hour. However, the political brinkmanship was so severe that Standard & Poor's downgraded the U.S. credit rating from AAA to AA+ for the first time in history. What happened to the stock market? Even without an actual default, the S&P 500 plunged by roughly 17% in a matter of weeks. The VIX, the volatility index, often called the stock market's fear gauge, shot up to levels not seen since the 2008 financial crisis. Trillions of dollars in wealth evaporated globally. If a real technical default were to happen, the 2011 scenario would look like a minor speed bump. Here is the deeper, mechanical reason why global stocks would crash. The earnings shock. Higher interest rates mean higher borrowing costs for companies, which directly eats into their profit margins. Furthermore, consumer confidence would plummet. If people stop spending, corporate earnings collapse. The discount rate. Remember that risk-free rate we talked about? Stock prices are generally valued based on the present value of their future cash flows. When the foundational interest rate rises, the discount rate used in these calculations rises. Mathematically, this forces the valuation of every stock on Earth to go down, particularly high-growth tech stocks. Margin calls. As stock prices fall, investors who bought stocks on borrowed money, margin, will be forced by their brokers to sell assets to cover their losses. This creates a vicious cycle. Selling drives prices down, which triggers more margin calls, which triggers more selling. And this isn't just an American problem. European and Asian markets would suffer heavily. Emerging markets will be devastated. Many emerging market countries and corporations borrow in U.S. dollars. A default crisis would cause wild swings in the value of the dollar. If the dollar spikes due to a sudden liquidity squeeze, emerging market debts become impossibly expensive to repay, triggering a wave of international corporate bankruptcies. Now, let's pivot to commodities. The commodity market's reaction to a U.S. default is fascinating because it splits directly into two opposing camps: the safe havens and the industrial casualties. Let's start with the safe havens, primarily gold and silver. Gold has been the ultimate store of value for thousands of years. Its most unique characteristic is that it has no counterparty risk. A U.S. Treasury bond relies on the U.S. government keeping its promise. A bar of gold is just a bar of gold. It doesn't rely on anyone's promise to have value. In the event of a U.S. default, institutional investors, central banks, and retail traders would stampede into gold. Going back to our 2011 example, during that debt ceiling crisis, gold prices skyrocketed to what were then all-time historical highs, surging past $1,900 an ounce. In an actual default, we would expect a spectacular rally in precious metals as confidence in paper currency and government bonds evaporates. But the story is entirely different for industrial commodities. Let's look at oil and copper. These commodities are the lifeblood of the physical economy. Copper is so tied to economic growth that traders call it Dr. Copper because it's the only metal with a PhD in macroeconomics. If the global economy is growing, people are building houses, manufacturing electronics, and laying power grids, all of which require copper. A U.S. default would almost certainly trigger a sudden, severe recession. Credit would freeze, businesses would pause operations, and consumer demand would dry up. If factories aren't producing and goods aren't being shipped, the demand for diesel, gasoline, and jet fuel falls off a cliff. Therefore, in a default scenario, the prices of crude oil, natural gas, copper, and iron would crash. Investors would price in a massive global economic contraction. Agricultural commodities like wheat and soybeans might see a different kind of chaos. While people still need to eat during a recession, the trade of these goods relies on trade finance, short-term credit provided by banks to help goods move across oceans. If the banking system freezes due to a U.S. default, global shipping could grind to a halt, causing localized shortages and massive price volatility. To truly master this topic, we must go one level deeper. We must look at the plumbing of the global financial system. This is the part that most retail investors never see, but it is where the real danger lies. It's called the repurchase agreement or repo market. Every night, banks and financial institutions lend each other trillions of dollars to balance their books. But they don't just hand over cash. They require collateral. The most common, universally accepted collateral in the world is, you guessed it, the U.S. Treasury bond. Now imagine what happens if the U.S. defaults on those bonds. Suddenly, the collateral is tainted. Bank A looks at Bank B and says, I am not lending you $10 billion overnight because the Treasury bonds you're giving me as collateral might not pay out tomorrow. If institutions stop accepting U.S. Treasuries as collateral, the overnight lending market freezes. This is exactly what happened during the 2008 Lehman Brothers collapse. But instead of toxic mortgage-backed securities, it would be the sovereign debt of the United States. When the repo market freezes, the financial plumbing gets clogged. Hedge funds can't finance their trades. Banks hoard cash and stop lending to businesses. Payrolls bounce. This is the mechanism that turns a political argument in Washington, D.C. into a catastrophic liquidity crisis that could shut down the global economy in a matter of days. To wrap up our session today, let's summarize the cascade of events in a U.S. technical default. First, the foundational risk-free rate of global finance breaks, sending borrowing costs surging worldwide. Second, global stock markets crash as investors flee risk. Corporate earnings face a recessionary cliff, and margin calls force panic selling. Third, The commodity markets splinter. Safe havens like gold surge as investors seek assets with no counterparty risk, while industrial commodities like oil and copper plummet as the market braces for a severe global recession. And finally, the invisible plumbing of the global financial system. The repo market threatens to freeze entirely, turning a political standoff into a global liquidity crisis. A U.S. debt default is a high-stakes game of political chicken. It is an entirely manufactured crisis. But the consequences of making a mistake in this game are incredibly real. The entire global financial ecosystem is built on the premise that the United States always pays its debts. If that premise is broken, the rules of finance as we know them will have to be rewritten overnight. Thank you for joining today's deep dive. Stay informed, stay analytical, and remember that in the financial markets, the most dangerous risks are often the ones created by design.